want to start recording and it happens whatever happens.
Whatever happens, happens.
Yeah. Okay. Well, welcome to the Fire and Ice podcast. My name is Andrew Slaybaugh, and I have my friend Joseph Miller here, and we are recording a podcast. And we don't really know what we're doing, but we're having fun.
It's a for better or for worse situation. It's probably going to be for worse.
Yeah. I think it's going to be for better, really. We got our coffee here. I got one of my favorite cups here. It's a John Wayne statement. It says, "Let's go, we're burning daylight." So
let's go then.
But anyway, so the idea of this podcast is to talk about things that often don't maybe get talked about. Talk about ideas. Talk about anything really is open. I want to talk about things that people want to talk about but don't get to. Right, that's what I want to talk about. Maybe the things that the church doesn't like to address, those things, all the uncomfortable things that tend to be what's the word I'm looking for?
The uncomfortable subjects.
Uncomfortable subjects.
The ones that make the room go quiet when you mention it.
Yeah, that's kind of like, I mean, speaking of uncomfortable subjects, I came home the other night and my wife is like, "You need to have the birds and the bees talk with your son."
Mm-hmm.
And apparently he's been talking about it and been asking questions, and so yeah, that happened. But I think it went really well.
Yeah.
It really did. I mean, looking back, I wish somebody would have done that for me.
I know.
Which is one of the reasons, like, I kind of prepared myself for this over the years. I've thought about it. I knew it was coming. And I knew that I wanted to have that conversation with him because if I don't, somebody else is going to eventually. He's going to get the story.
Or something.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, that just happened this week. But it went well. I think it went really well. So yeah, left the door open. If he's got any more questions, he can come ask. He can come talk to me about it. So
take the stigma away.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's not something you spread out all over the world, but it's still
right.
So maybe the title of this podcast or the name of the podcast should have been "The Birds and the Bees."
I know what we'll call it: the Birds and the Bees conversation about non-resistance.
Okay.
How about that?
Fair enough.
So that leads us into the conversation that you and I had here a while ago, or part of this conversation, and it was regarding non-resistance. I've heard you talk about it, and I really want it to be recorded. I want other people to be able to hear that. It's an interesting perspective. It's something that I want to learn more about. Obviously, when we talk about non-resistance in our culture, in our setting, is we both grew up Amish, and there may be people listening that grew up Mennonite or very conservative religions of some kind where they believed in non-resistance. And you have a way of talking about that I find really interesting. So, tell us the story of how you got, like where you came from, how you got to where you are now, and let's talk about it. So,
sure,
the floor is yours. Whatever you want to say.
The floor is mine. Yeah. Yeah, this is one of those subjects that always gets me in trouble, so I guess that's why I keep talking about it. Except, okay, yeah. Cool. All right, awesome. So no trouble here, but yeah. I don't know for sure when this all started, honestly, but like you said, grew up in Amish, older Amish, And we were always taught, like very strongly taught, that if somebody even broke into your house and was going to kidnap your children or whatever, that you would do nothing. Like if you resisted in any way, shape, or form, that would be bad boy, bad boy.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, I never really bought into that, and I always felt kind of bad, guilty almost, that because I kind of knew that if it really got down to the wire, I'm not sure that I would be non-resistant. I would have. I was pretty sure I would probably do something. I didn't know what. I figured I'd do something. And so, yeah. And then, of course, we left the Amish in 2015, December of 2015, and that was a whole journey, and a whole story of its own. But that after, like, it's been a complete journey since then of learning how to um, exist in this world without all of that. I'm not sure. Like there's an entire mindset and belief system and way of living, and there was so many things I had to unlearn, still am, and that was one of the major ones for me because like the absence of, well, maybe we should back up and just talk about what the Amish or actually it's Anabaptist, what that culture believes.
Yeah.
And kind of set the stage because not everybody knows what we're talking about or knows where we're coming from.
Right. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
When you were growing up, did you ever get in fights, like in school or and get in trouble for it?
Occasionally, yeah. Not a whole lot. I was a reasonably good kid, but just because I was smart enough to get away with stuff.
Yeah.
I got away with more than most people did. Because I knew exactly where the line was and you pushed right up to the line.
Well, that was the difference between you and me.
Oh, you didn't know.
I walked just the line, just walked through it. Yeah.
Oh boy.
I did it out of rebellion, but I always had that. I always had fight in me, even to this day. To the extent that I have come to grips with the fact that not only am I willing to fight, I'm willing to look for one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like it's almost like it's how I was made.
We're men. We were created to fight. Yeah. And maybe not necessarily.
Don't get me wrong. There's a healthy version.
Exactly. There's a very unhealthy version of that as well. I'm not advocating for that. Like there's a saying that people say like violence is never the answer. And I think that's true 98% of the time, or maybe 99% of the time, that violence is not the answer. But there are situations where I believe violence is the only answer.
Yeah.
The chances that you and I will be in that situation anytime in the near future is very, very low.
Yeah.
But there are situations where violence is the only answer. And so that saying that violence is never the answer is just simply not true.
Yeah. So, you had mentioned what the Anabaptist or the Mennonite or Amish church. What do they believe about non-resistance?
Basically, you never resist, no matter what happens. You never ever resist in any way, shape, or form. And I believe where it comes from is you go all the way back to the 1700s. I think it's 1700s, 1600s maybe. I'm not totally sure on the timeline. But basically during the persecution of the Anabaptist people where they were burned at the stake, there was...
I think that started as early as the late 1500s.
I think so too.
And early 1600s.
Actually, you're right. It ended in the... I think it ended... I need to go study my history. I don't even know. But yeah. That all happened and it left its mark on our people. And we basically became the quiet in the land. These are other things that people don't know, that our people don't know, but there's documents were signed with the government saying that we will be the quiet in the land and not evangelize. We will not spread the gospel. We will not do anything like that. And that still has its effect on us to this day. Like those documents still stand until you explicitly say, I do not agree with this anymore. And it was an agreement made between them and the state church saying, in exchange for peace and prosperity, like the right to own land and farm and have business and stuff, we will be quiet about our beliefs. And the second that, like for me, if this happened, the second I stepped out of the Amish church, guess what happened? I had financial problems to no end. I had to fight like crazy just to get on top of things. Like I lost every bit of that. Mm-hmm. And so there's this, you have to overcome that agreement. And so the point that I'm trying to make, or the thing that I'm getting to, is like there's this spirit almost that we have picked up where there was, I don't know, I wasn't there then in those days, but I think there was just no way to resist, or somehow, I don't know what happened, but there was this shutdown or this thing that came onto our people because of that. And yeah, we've been shut down ever since.
Yeah. Where do you know where these papers were signed? Like who did this, or when exactly did this happen?
I don't know when in the time frame, but it was toward the end they kind of made those agreements. And I couldn't tell you exactly where it happened. Switzerland, France. I'm pretty sure it was in more than one place.
I'm not going to make a note of that because I am pretty sure that question is going to be asked. I'm going to make a note of it, and afterwards I want to look it up. And then when we post the video, I want to maybe post some of that.
Yeah, there's a fair amount of like if you go on, you can do a search and you can find it.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh. So there's that entire belief system around just being the quiet in the land, not making a fuss, not having a fight, not rattling any cages or rocking the boat in any way, shape, or form. Otherwise, the government will come after you and burn you at the stake. Mm-hmm. I think it's that trauma is still in our generation. Yeah. It's still in our genes, if you will.
Yeah, I think, for a lot of us that grew up in that culture, we know what you're talking about, but what if somebody else, I have friends that don't have our background that are going to possibly see this. They don't know what we're talking about. But what you're talking about, the trauma, is there was a breaking away from the Catholic Church back in Switzerland, and there was persecution that took place.
Major.
Everything from burning people alive to drowning them in the river.
Beheading.
I forget what the name of that river is that goes through Zurich, Switzerland. But I've read stories, like I read books. There's all kinds of books out there on it. And they drowned men, women, children. Like they drowned a lot of people in that river. They beheaded them. They burned them. And this went across Switzerland. I believe in the parts of Germany that this persecution was going on. But that group of people is where the Anabaptist people came from, which that name, can you explain what the name Anabaptist even means? Like, where's that come from?
So, like, way back in what it meant is like we're being rebaptized. And so that was their primary disagreement with the Catholic Church, which was the state church at that point in time.
Yeah.
Is that they wanted to be baptized as adults when they know what the decisions are that they're making and they're choosing this versus just being baptized as an infant.
Yeah.
So that's where Anabaptist comes from, like basically rebaptized.
Yeah.
And like all Amish Mennonite, basically they come from that.
And just to be clear, the difference between the Amish and the Mennonites is the Mennonites came the Mennonite church, more or less, was founded by a fellow by the name of Menno Simons, right? And the Amish church came from a guy named Jacob Ammon. And there was a split in the Anabaptist church, which was under one agreement until there was this disagreement, and I don't even know what the disagreement was. But there was a disagreement and there was a split, and so now there's Mennonites and there's Amish, and a lot of people look at them and go, well, they're the same. In some scenarios, they look very much the same.
Right.
But to this day, there is a distinct what is it?
That competition.
Yes, it is still there.
Still there.
And very much. I have picked up on that a lot over the years. Yeah. But yeah, it's interesting. But anyway,
having said that, I have a lot of really good medical friends.
And so we know these stories because this happened back in the late 1500s, going into the 1600s. Was when this happened. We're in the 2000s. And in a lot of Amish homes, there is a book called The Martyr's Mirror. And you can look that book up and look up some of the stories online in that book. And it gives very detailed descriptions of some of these stories of these people that were persecuted, that were burned at the stake, and their testimonies and all of these things. In our house where I grew up, that book was just as important as the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was, in fact, we may have read it more, to be honest, because we could read that in English and we had a German Bible. We didn't understand a German Bible.
Right. I grew up slightly more liberal than you did. We were reading English, but...
Yeah. But anyway, excuse me. That's where that trauma keeps being reinforced, even in 2026. In these Amish churches, these stories are retold
over and over
and over. This idea is driven home. You cannot fight back.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if somebody breaks in your house and is hurting your family, your wife or your children, you are not allowed to pull the shotgun out of the closet and do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
You would automatically go to hell if you did something like that. If you took someone's life in the process of protecting your family, that is no excuse.
Yeah.
That's how we were doing.
You're going straight to hell. If you don't even have to take someone's life, you even take the shotgun out of the closet to scare them, you were going to hell.
Yeah. So that's kind of the background where we're coming from. And how did you come to the conclusion that maybe there's something off with this idea?
So, after we left the Amish, obviously the other thing the Amish don't do is hear straight from God ever. You know, they believe in Father, Son, and the Holy Bible. They don't really believe in Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. So part of the journey of, leaving the Amish was realizing that, God speaks to every one of us. And He has a plan for every one of us. He does not just speak to the church leaders. He does not just speak to whatever, through the church is the way that we were always taught. And so as a part of that process, just started hearing from God, hearing these things. And one of my biggest battles was being a victim. Like just being a victim to life, being a martyr, if you will, because that's what's in our DNA. It's what's in our generation. It just happens to you, and there's just nothing you can do about it. Like that mindset is so deeply ingrained. It's I really struggle to even explain it. Like, I know that you get it. I know that anybody with an Anabaptist background is going to get it, but I'm really struggling to know how to explain it to somebody who has none of that background. But
yeah, basically, you're taught. You're coming from the perspective you're just this meek, kind of going along with the program. So, you mentioned earlier when you left the Amish church, there was this almost like the system came crashing down as far as your finances. A lot of things just kind of fell apart for you. Well, you're in this culture of the Amish where they very much support each other,
right?
Which is a good thing. They have a lot of really good things. Don't hear us bashing the Amish church and in their lifestyle in general. There's a lot of good in it. Like, we both, to this day, reap the benefits of growing up that way.
Exactly. Matter of fact, I still identify as Amish. Like, I'm an Amish guy. I'm sorry, I'm an Amish guy. I work as a software engineer, but I'm an Amish guy. Like,
this is an Amish software engineer. That blows my mind. The first time I heard that, I thought you were joking.
That's serious. My handle on Twitter is Amish Program.
Yeah. Well, there you have it. So if you want to follow them, you know where to find them. But you have this culture of dependence. Like, you depend on each other.
You depend on the church. You depend on each other. You depend on, and not all of that is bad.
Right.
That is absolutely not all bad. There is so much about that culture that is amazing and good. And yeah, I love it. I want it for my kids.
But in general, people often end up believing that they do that community thing out of a place of need rather than out of need and performance. That's a good way to put it. Need, performance, and maybe a healthy dose of religious ideology that doesn't benefit anyone. But it comes out of this place of need rather than strength, that comes from a place of knowing what your identity is, knowing who God has made you to be, knowing who God has called you to be and how He's called you to function on earth. And so it's coming, what you were talking about is that whole, that need thing. And so you step outside of that Amish community, and all of a sudden there is a very short cutting off of all of that, and you are on your own for the first time in your life.
You got to make your own decisions. You got to decide what you believe is right and wrong. You got to decide, and all of a sudden you're like, and you make up your mind, and you find truth. You read the Bible. You hear from God. You do these things, and you know in your head, and maybe even in some level in your heart, that you're not going to hell just because you drive a car or have a cell phone in your pocket or carry a computer, or in my case, be a programmer. But there's a part of you that just believes you are going straight to hell. And that process is excruciating.
Yeah, it is.
But I would do it all over again.
Yeah.
But back to my kind of like how I got here was, so in 2019, I think, like, we had left the Amish. We were living in Indiana. We still dressed Amish. I don't think I had a driver's license yet at that point. I don't remember for sure. And I kept hearing from God that I am supposed to get a concealed carry permit. And like, I was just like, why? This makes no sense to me. And yet I had, like, we had experienced some things where I knew that this is real. God speaks to you. Like, there was stuff that happened, miracles, things that there was no denying. This is real. I could not just decide, nah, I'm just hearing it. I couldn't dismiss it. And yet I was like, no, this does not make sense. I had a million reasons, Bible verse. I mean, you name it, the reasons I had for, this is just. But at the same time, my life was not working. My marriage was not working. The community was not working. Like, nothing was working. Finances weren't working. And God was putting His finger on the root of the problem. I didn't realize it back then, but He was. And so I'd be like, Lord, I'm here. Like, I want to serve You. How can I help? What am I supposed to do? What's the next step? And it got to the point where it was like, well, when are you going to do what I already told you to do? Like, stop asking me what you're supposed to do if you're not willing to do what I already told you to do. So finally, I mentioned it to some of my, the brothers there. I'm like, hey, I'm hearing this. It makes no sense to me. What are you guys thinking? They all looked at me like I was off in the head or something. But they also, had enough experience with the stuff that didn't just totally dismiss it, but they were still kind of like, I think you're going off the rails here. And so finally one day I just said, all right, screw it. And this was before Indiana had constitutional carry, so I had to actually get a concealed carry permit. Went into the office, got the fingerprints, did the things, got all the, I forget, there was like a bunch of stuff you had to do. And bought a 9mm, started packing heat. And it completely changed my mindset. And even at that point in time, I was not carrying it for self-protection. Matter of fact, I still probably don't. Like, I don't actually really believe or subscribe to the idea in protecting my own life. It's not really what it's about. I'm not saying I wouldn't, but that's not what it's about. It's about protecting the people around me. It's about protecting my family. It's about protecting, being able and ready and trained and capable of preventing evil. There's a saying that says that evil flourishes when good men do nothing.
Yeah.
And so I decided I'm going to stop doing nothing. And it changed my life. It changed how I saw the world. It completely changed my mindset about so many things. And it was literally that victim martyr mindset, that spirit, that whatever. Like now today, that thing just drives me up the wall anytime I get close to it. I'm just like, just stop it already.
Yeah.
And I want to kick it in the nuts. Because it's just a big fat victim, self-righteous thing in a suit, acting holy.
Yeah.
And it pisses me off.
So what would you say? So I know one of the questions that often comes up regarding this conversation is, what do you do with the scripture where it says, those who live by the sword shall die by the sword? In our culture, that only time that scripture is ever used is to justify doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
It is to justify being passive, more or less, is how that scripture is used. So someone's likely going to ask, what's your response to that?
I don't live by the sword. I know I'm capable of carrying one, but I don't live by it.
You don't live for that.
I don't live for that.
Just because you're willing to protect and even use violence to protect does not mean you live for that.
I do not live for that. Absolutely not. I live for peace.
Yeah.
But you cannot have peace without violence. It is impossible. You can't, like, now I'm starting to get fired up.
Go for it.
These people.
You have my permission. Go for it.
Who, like, you believe that, well, everybody should just be happy and work together and everything, it's all about love. And it is. It is. I'm not disagreeing. But look at the price that has been paid for the freedom that you and I enjoy here in the United States of America. My grandfather's generation went to Europe and they spilled their blood. They fought. The reason that we have what we have today is because of what they did. There is no getting around that fact. And some of the other wars that we fought recently, like the Korean War, the Vietnam War, not quite so black and white. Some of those, I don't know. Maybe we were just being big dicks. I don't know. But even the Afghanistan, the most recent one, or Desert Storm, was clearly about. I've studied military history a lot, but Desert Storm was clearly about oil. Some of that stuff, I'm like, no, I'm not interested in that. But World War II was pretty black and white. Because just imagine, if you don't believe me, think about this scenario. Imagine what the world would be like today if nobody had stopped Hitler. Where would we be today?
Yeah.
Like just run down that rabbit hole for a while and think about where would the church be today? Would there be a church?
Right. Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, I 100% agree with you. And that you touched on something that was another hot button subject, which is the military. So,
thank God for the military.
Yeah,
I make no
100%. I agree. I will not apologize for that, and I will not disrespect our veterans. I will not disrespect anyone that is willing to sign up to go give their life for the welfare of my family and my country, whether it be domestic or foreign or what. I will not disrespect someone like that.
Maybe, yeah. There's just.
But in our culture, that has happened many times. I mean, my grandfather went as far as spending, I think it was 3.5 years on a prison farm down in West Virginia. He was Amish, and they, what is it called? Drafted. They drafted him, and he refused to fight. And so they put him on a prison farm and made him grow crops for the military. So, yeah, that gives you an idea of how much these people are against defending what even in a time when there is a clear threat to them and their way of life, to their neighbors, to their entire nation. There's a threat, and they will not fight. But anyway, back to the.
I would like to put something in there, though. I do have a lot of respect for people who legitimately are conscientious objectors, and they're willing to stand for what they believe. I don't actually have a problem with that, because I don't believe everybody's necessarily called to be or believe exactly what I do. But I know for a fact that I'm a protector, and I'm called, like, if there's a bullet flying, I'm supposed to put I need to do whatever it takes to stop that. Whether that be using my body to stop it or using my 9mm to stop it. It is my job to stop it.
Yeah.
But I have friends, people that I know very, very well, who will not carry a weapon, and yet they will go to the front lines in Ukraine and drag people out of there, but they will not carry a weapon.
Yeah.
Okay, I have no issue with. Yeah. I respect that. Yeah. Because they are still willing to put their lives on the line to go do what needs to be done.
That's a really good point.
The thing I have a problem with is when you're just lazy and you want to sit on your butt and have a nice, soft, cushy life while everybody else is out doing the fighting. That is a problem.
Yeah.
So if you even, if somebody even is a conscientious objector, fine, go grow crops for the military, but don't do nothing.
Yeah.
But be a medic, for crying out loud. You could be the next Desmond Doss.
Yeah, I was just going to.
That's an option.
Watch that movie.
Oh, absolutely.
What was it called? Hacksaw Ridge.
Hacksaw Ridge.
That was an awesome movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. That's being willing to give your life for others is what that comes down to.
That's what the military will.
Yeah.
The core of it. I think they get into a lot of bad stuff that they shouldn't.
Right. Right. I mean, we could sit here and argue about whether or not we should have been this war or that war because of oil and rich politicians, or that's an endless rabbit hole.
That's an endless rabbit hole. I think there's a lot of crap happened that should not have happened. I'm totally on that. I'm totally in agreement with that as well. But
yeah, you made a statement earlier about it is impossible to have peace. Wait, how did you put it?
I don't remember.
Peace is impossible without strength.
Peace is impossible without strength, or without somebody who's willing to stand up and say no.
Yeah.
No, not on my watch.
So basically, so this is something I've had conversation. I might have even had it with you, but it's this idea of peace, because we all love peace, right? And we're called to be peacemakers. So if we're called to be peacemakers, what does that look like? Because I believe we often think, well, that means just being a very peaceful,
turning the other cheek,
just being a kind of passive, maybe.
So there's totally is a place for, like, the best way to win a fight is never get in one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just don't get in the fight. Like, why would you? Why do you want to get in a fight? Like, why do you want to get yourself hurt? And yet at the same time, if something is going down that should not go down, somebody has to do something about it.
So it's the willingness.
It's more about the willingness to step in.
It's the attitude and the willingness to put up a fight actually causes you to not have to fight.
Yep.
Because this idea of peace through strength is really the only real peace, if you think about it. Mm-hmm. Because take God, for instance. We can talk about God. So, who would God be to us if he was not capable of great violence?
And destroying whole
nations
if he has to.
Yeah. So, we trust God, and the Bible uses the word fear God. That word fear is to be in awe, to respect. It's not, as we often use the word fear as being scared to death or something, That's not what that word fear means, I don't believe. But if you think about it, why do we pray to God when we get in trouble? It's because we know what he's capable of.
We know he's capable of doing something about it.
Yeah. And I mean, if you don't know what he's capable of, read the Old Testament, read the New Testament, and read the Bible.
Revelations.
It's all through the Bible what God is capable of doing, and then he goes and creates us in his image. And then somehow we tend to pick up the idea sometimes that we're supposed to be somewhat passive and weak. Well, I would make the argument that it's impossible to be peaceful if you're not willing to be violent first. Mm-hmm. If you don't have the willingness and the ability to be violent, to cause harm, your peace is worthless. So your peace is only weakness at that point.
So here's how I see that, is that we were brought up to believe to be non-resistant, right? So if I am not capable of punching you in the face and knocking you up good and properly, I am not capable of non-resistance.
Right.
The only way you can be non-resistant is if you are capable of putting up a really good fight, and totally messing up the other guy, killing him, whatever, but you choose not to. Mm-hmm. When you choose not to, that is actual real non-resistance. When you are capable of violence, but you choose not to. Right. So if you're not capable of violence, you are incapable of being non-resistant. You can't. It's impossible.
Again, it goes back to Jesus is the Lion of Judah. Mm-hmm. A lion is very, very dangerous. But imagine any safer place to be than with a lion that is for you.
Yeah.
So imagine you having the attitude of a lion, the ability of a lion, but protecting your family, your community, your church. So you're coming from the more we talk about this, I'm really happy we're having this conversation, because in my mind, it's reinforcing the idea of strength, but choosing to use it for peace instead of saying, I'm just always going to be peaceful and not going to worry about that. Because, again, back to our background and our culture, that is something that we were taught to do. And still, even outside of that, there's a lot of people that have left the Amish church, or were thrown out of the Amish church, or it was a mutual agreement to leave the Amish, or whatever it was.
However it happened.
Excuse me. They're no longer a part of the Amish church. They still believe that. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of people that are not a part of the Amish church anymore that would consider it a utter and complete failure if their child went and joined the military.
Yeah.
And that mindset is still there, and it seems like it's easier to take the man out of Egypt than it is to get the Egypt out of the man.
It totally is.
And I see that in my own life too, but that's something I love the idea of peace that comes out of strength instead of peace that comes out of weakness or being passive.
Yeah. And so for the people, like the Anabaptist people that are listening to this, I realized something. I realized that our forefathers, I don't know for sure, obviously I wasn't there, but I am pretty sure that we are totally misrepresenting and misunderstanding what they stood for. So I think what we like the modern or the martyr, what a martyr means to an Anabaptist person today is not what it meant to our forefathers, people who were actually dying at stake. Yeah. I don't think it means the same thing. I think we completely lost that meaning. And so very recently, actually, I was having like a really bad episode, and I had one of my mentors with Rise Up Kings. Actually, it was non-Anabaptist, which is really good for me. And I was having a call with him, and he was like trying to figure. He was trying to help me whatever processing me about why am I so, where am I stuck, or what's going on. And so I started talking to him about it. Just that's what came up. This, like the Anabaptist, the martyr thing, what happened back there, all that stuff. I was like, well, that's really fascinating. But then he said something that really, really caught my attention and sent me down a whole rabbit hole that really formed or brought together the viewpoint that I have now, which is actually pretty recent. But he said, in order to be a martyr, you must first be a warrior. Basically, you cannot, unless if you are not fighting for something, you can't die for something. And so they were fighting for something. They were fighting for Jesus Christ. They were fighting for the kingdom of heaven. Yes, they died, but they were fighting for it. They were willing to put their lives on the line because they believed in it so much, and they were fighting for it so much. And that is like I can feel that fight. That fire is still in our people.
Yeah.
Like it is. Man, it is incredible. Like I know that it's there, and there's just this side of us. And that is the real thing. That is the martyr thing. That is the thing that we are shutting down.
Yeah.
And because we're scared of it, we're scared shitless of this thing.
Yeah.
And that's the real thing. That is the martyr thing. And so we've covered it up with this other thing, this passive, the exact opposite of it, literally.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy. So anyway, then this sent me down the whole rabbit hole. Like I'm like, okay, what does it mean? What does the word martyr mean then? What is going on here? And so I started looking things up in the Bible. I went down a whole long rabbit hole. But I found that the word martyr shows up in the King James Version Bible only 3 times. I think it's just it only shows up there 3 times. And so I was like, okay, let's go look. What does this actually mean in the Hebrew language? The word martyr. What is the Hebrew meaning of this word? Well, come to find out, there is no word for martyr in the Hebrew language. It doesn't exist. It is literally, there is no such concept in the Hebrew language. It does exist in the Greek, but not in the Hebrew. There's absolutely, literally no concept. There's, I forget how many I have written down here somewhere, but there's 10 different words in the Hebrew language about a warrior. Like 10 different meanings. We have the word warrior, but in the Hebrew, there's like 10 different ways to say warrior.
Yeah, okay.
The word martyr doesn't exist in the Hebrew language. There's 10 words for warrior. What does that mean? Like, which does God care about? But that really got me thinking. And so then I started looking. Well, what does the word martyr actually mean in the Greek language? And it means something that does not. I think it has absolutely no connection to what we think it means. It means to be a witness in a court of law. The word martyr in the Greek language means if you are a martyr, you are somebody, you get up in a court of law and you set the record straight. And you say it the way it is, even if it costs you your life. That's what it means. It means you will say whatever needs to be said. You will bear witness to the truth, even if it costs you your life. It was about bearing witness, not about losing your life. We've made it all about losing your life. That's not the point. Right. The point is you're bearing witness. You're being a witness for the truth.
Wow.
So we completely, in our mindsets, we have it completely inverted. It's all about dying. It is not about dying. Being a martyr is not about dying.
It's about giving a witness.
It's about giving a witness. It's about what you're fighting for.
Wow.
It is literally what the word means.
That is incredible.
And so I came to the conclusion that the current meaning in the English language is very different from what it meant to them back there.
So the reality is, martyr is often represented as a martyr, or that's the way I grew up believing, and I know a lot of people that think this way. A martyr is kind of a victim.
Yeah.
You're kind of just a victim. Where the reality is the exact opposite. I mean, think about the apostles.
Yeah.
How they died. The apostle Paul. They weren't
victims.
They weren't victims at all.
Think about Jesus.
He was
not a victim. He chose that.
Right.
Comes back to the thing of choosing. Mm-hmm. Non-resistance has to be a choice. If you're just a victim, you're not non-resistant. You're just a victim.
Yeah. That's incredible. That is amazing. Wow. Yeah, I really like what you said because I feel that you're talking about how to this day it is in our DNA. And first of all, we're men, but it's also a part of our heritage.
It is.
That fight, that willingness to fight.
That willingness to do whatever it takes, even if it costs you your life. Yeah. That's still there.
That's been suppressed in our culture for so long that we almost don't recognize it.
Suppressed, and I would say maybe even a little misguided or misdirected. Yeah. And we would be, if you would get the opportunity to die for your faith, that would be amazing, right?
Yeah.
From that culture, right? Perspective. But the point is, it's not about the dying. It's about what you do before you die.
Yeah.
If it costs you your life, then yeah, you're willing to give it. If that's what it takes, if that's the price you have to pay, then you pay the price. But that's not. It's not about the dying. Goal. That's not the goal. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a side effect.
Right.
It's a side effect of living a completely sold out life.
Yeah.
And if you die, you die.
I'm going to make sure my friend BJ gets this video. He knows what you're talking about.
Yeah.
He has made it a point to find that fight in people like this. And he does a really good job. Yeah, he really is. BJ is an amazing individual. But yeah, that is amazing. And it's funny that he doesn't even have it. He has his background is not the same.
Right.
It's not from our culture, but he has a connection to it. He's got I find that amazing.
And the truth is, we probably have a specific variant of this in our culture, but it's probably a problem with the larger culture. There's plenty of victim out there.
Victims and passive men are everywhere.
Oh,
in fact, that's the normal.
That's normal. It should not be.
No, it shouldn't. It shouldn't at all. And I hate to even say this, but I believe that if our lives were more difficult, we would have less of that.
Yeah, we would.
from what I mean by that is we live a life of ease. Really, the reality, we got paved roads to drive on, most of us. Vehicles. We don't have, in our generation doesn't know suffering the way many before us have. No. But yeah, that's amazing. So how do you wrap this up? What is the conclusion? Can you give us a conclusion on this?
So I don't know if I can wrap it up or not, but basically my definition now of a martyr is someone who is living his life wide open. No stops, no, you're not holding back on anything. You're completely sold out for a cause, hopefully Christianity or Jesus in the kingdom. Mm-hmm. You're sold out for a cause. You're willing to do whatever it takes to do what needs to be done. Yeah. And you stand against evil, you stand against wrong, you stand against abuse, you stand against all these terrible things that happen. And you just say, no, not on my watch. Yeah. Look at the nation and what's going on. No, not on my watch. This is not going down. This is like it needs to change. Yeah. And if it costs me up to the price I'm willing to pay is up to the price of my life, which is the biggest price. Yeah. And yeah, you live that way. Yeah. And I think that's something that we have that's probably pretty unique in that as Anabaptist people, we know we have that concept of being willing to die for something. I just think it's a little misguided and misdirected.
That's a good point. Good point. Have you ever thought about, there's a little side note. So I was reading through the New Testament. It was just last summer. And I noticed something that blew my mind. So I always thought of, so we know the story about Jesus going into the temple, right? Mm-hmm. And he went into the temple and he flipped tables. That's like our example of Jesus being violent. Right. Being willing to use, speaking of being willing to use violence. Well, I was reading that story, and I always saw it as Jesus just lost it. Mm-hmm. He walks in Flipped there, out. He sees what's going on, and he has, what do the kids call it, a crash out? That's what I thought happened. But as I'm reading the story, I'm looking at it in detail, you know that he he braided together cords from the curtain to make a whip.
That's what it says.
So he sat there for a while thinking about this as he's braiding together a whip. Mm-hmm. It takes a few minutes. It takes a little time to do this. So this was premeditated violence on Jesus' part. And he had a whip. He wasn't just flipping tables. I imagine he hit a few people.
I imagine he did. I imagine he had to, or they wouldn't have responded.
He had enough of what was going on. Mm-hmm. Talk about stepping in and saying enough is enough. And they were turning his father's house into a den of thieves, and he had enough of it.
He's like, this is not happening on my watch.
Yeah. Yeah. Regarding this whole conversation, it just changed. It was another little building block in changing how I see the whole thing of non-resistance. Mm-hmm. Jesus wasn't non-resistant.
Yeah. Not in the way.
Not in the way we know it.
Yeah. There is a biblical non-resistance. Right. Jesus said, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Right. Turn the other cheek. If somebody wants to hit you, turn the other cheek. If they want to take your coat, give them your shirt as well. Yeah. He said those things.
Yeah, he did. And it's valid. And if you think about it, he made a serious power statement when he was about to go to the cross. Mm-hmm. Because he said that he could have called a legion of angels or 10,000 angels, whatever it was.
But he chose not to.
But he chose not to. So that was actually non-resistance. Mm-hmm. But it was non-resistance from a point of power, strength. Mm-hmm. Saying, I'm choosing to do this. Yep. because of what my mission is, because of what I was sent to do. This is what I'm doing. And I want you to know that I could put an end to this.
Like I chose this.
Yeah.
Yeah, you made it very, very clear. I chose this.
Well, I think that's a good ending to this. Thank you. Thank you for coming and having this conversation with you. I feel like I've learned a lot. I mean, I feel, yeah, I want to go back and watch the video just to kind of absorb more of it. But I really appreciate you sharing this with us. I think this is really important that we understand this.
Yeah,
especially the people from our culture.
Because there's things in the world that need to be changed, and if we just sit on our hands expecting the government to fix it, it's not going to get fixed.
Right. Yeah. Passivity is never the answer.
Passivity is never the answer. That is a true statement.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right.
Live in such a way that if the devil takes you out, it costs him everything.
Yeah. I love it. Thank you very much.
Yep.